Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This podcast is here for everybody on the open mic comedy circuit, whether you're a comedian, an MC, a promoter, a tutor, or even just a comedy fan who enjoys spending their time in pub basements watching the possible stars of the future. If you're thinking, I could do that, then this podcast will give you the inside track on what to expect on this crazy circuit. Today's guest is someone who can't resist the British accent, will tastefully review any pictures you send their way, is one half of the Ringe show Is That Not Normal? The original trophy wife, originally from Texas. Please welcome to the stage, Miss Kimberly Policella. Hello, Kimberly.
Hi, that was a fun introduction. You clearly did your research.
I like to do a little bit. It lightens the mood for those that join and gives them a little bit of a surprise.
Fun.
So how give us your background in comedy.
In comedy. Oh, okay. Like what am I doing, or how did I get started, or
How did you get started?
well, it kind of snuck up on me because I've always been class clown.
Okay.
And I've always been somebody who wants to be the center of attention. Love it. So I walk into, and I'm naturally chatty with people. I can walk into any room, doesn't matter who's there. I instantly make friends. I don't have a problem talking to people. I love asking inappropriate questions, especially in this country. And I've gotten away with doing that by going, it's okay, I'm American, I'm gonna be this way, and they'll like loosen up. I used to work someplace where I had to deal with a lot of people, and they called me the interrogator. Because I could spend 10 minutes with someone and know their whole life because I just ask the questions and people just talk to me. Anyway, during lockdown, quit my job that I was working at, just a little officey job, and wrote a book and wrote parts of another one and tried to get it published by going through a literary agent, which is super lonely and isolating because I to try and find a literary agent. And I was bored out of my mind because I didn't have access to people. And so then my husband and I went to go see a comedy show, I think in maybe January of 2022.
Yeah.
We were sitting on the second row, and a comedian called Sarah Barron, who is also American, she got up and she spotted us holding hands and immediately started talking to us. And the questions she asked, I just answered very, matter of fact. And the audience was laughing at what I said because my life was slightly chaotic.
Yeah.
And I walked out of there and I thought, I thought my life was like crazy, but it's kind of funny. And so I thought maybe I want to do a comedy course because then that would give me the ability for my personality to be expressed somehow, because my kids are all funny, but I've always been the butt of their jokes. Like, they don't laugh at me. They think I'm, oh mama, that kind of thing. So I thought, okay, I'll try that. So I took a comedy course with Jay Sodagar. Don't know if you've heard of him. And Laughing Horse. Did that, got on stage, and just kept going. So here we are 2 years later.
Wow. So just from going to that one show, you thought that you literally had the moment of, I wonder if I could do this.
Well, yeah, because I was actively going, what can I do to access my creative side or express my creative side? I was desperate for something to do other than be at home and pull weeds in my garden. So,
yeah. So can you remember the first ever joke you ever told, whether it was an adult or as a child or?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Stupid joke. I don't know. I don't know how old you are or how much about American sports you know, but there was a sports newscaster guy called Howard Cosell, back in the States, probably in the 70s, maybe 80s. Super famous back when I was a kid,
Yeah.
for like American football and all of that stuff. So I was in the car one time, and my mother had told some kind of a joke, and I thought, I've got a joke. So I said, why did Howard Cosell go to Hawaii? And she was like, why? And I said, for a vacation. So stupid, but I laughed my ass off. I thought that was so funny because,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure that's not going to get me any awards, but I remember it.
Probably not. I guess it's how the kid's mind works. You hear, I guess you have it with your kids and stuff. If they come up to you when they were younger to tell you what they think is a joke, and it's just words,
Yeah.
but it puts joy on some people's faces, and you kind of don't want to spoil that.
Yeah. No, I don't know if she laughed or not. I still, to this day, because it's so stupid, I still think it's funny.
Yeah.
But nobody over here knows who Howard Cosell is, and it doesn't even matter. I could have said the Queen. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
So,
So, your time on stage then, give us your best moment on stage and your worst moment on stage, if you want to relive those.
mm, let me tell you my worst first.
Mhm.
So every time I got up on stage for probably the first 25 or 30 gigs, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I feel sick. I feel anxious. I don't want to do it. It's horrible. And then I would do it
Mm.
again.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was probably the third or fourth gig that I did, at an open mic. And I just died. Like, it was so quiet. And
Yeah.
I remember sort of the context of some of my jokes. I mean, I was brand new. I sucked. And I just remember it sticking with me for days. And I never went back there again. Like, that was it. I'm done. I'm never going to this particular venue again. But it was so. And then thinking about the jokes I did tell on that night, I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? It was
Yeah.
horrible, horrible. My best time on stage. It's like, I don't even know. I've probably had 3 or 4 different times on stage that I thought, oh, this was the best time I've ever had. Um, I, w-
Yeah.
I had a great time Saturday, in Brighton, when me and Kim Hope did our show. That was probably one of the highlights so far. But I do remember being, um, at a Comedy Southwest gig a few months ago. The promoter, her name's Donette Brown. And I remember everything I said, they were loving it. And I just felt so comfortable and so in the moment, really present. And it was really nice because, some of the people that were in the audience, I could see their generation, like, or their gender or whatever. I could see how they might relate to my material. And I remember feeling so confident after that,
Yeah.
and like, I am so funny. And then, of course, the next gig is never as good as the last, that
Yeah.
amazing gig. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm not that funny. But there have been a few moments. I probably couldn't give you just like one that was perfect
Yeah.
and the best ever. It's such an ebb and flow, you know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
comedy, such an ebb and flow. So
So when you spoke about you talking about you don't want to do it again when it was
yeah.
going badly, what made you go, okay, let's try again. Let's try again.
I think because I just felt like I enjoy the process of creating
Mm.
and writing. And I really, really, really do I love being with people and talking and having them laugh. And there was enough about it that I really enjoy. And I wanted to get better. And I kept there's this little piece of paper on my vanity mirror that I printed out probably a year and a half ago. It says, your entire life can change with 6 months of consistency. Perfection
Yeah.
isn't the goal, progression is. So I kept going back and trying to remind myself, no, I'm not Catherine Ryan. She's been doing this for, 15, whatever, however many years.
Yeah.
Stop comparing yourself to people who are miles ahead of you.
Yeah.
And my husband was really, he kept telling me the same thing. He's like, stop comparing yourself to those people who are, so far ahead of you that there is no comparison. It's two different things. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
And I think something inside me just decided I wanted to get better and I didn't want to be a quitter. And I've got 3 kids. And when I turned 49, I woke up and thought, what the hell, man? What have I done with my life?
Yeah.
And people are like, you raised 3 kids. And if you know any of my story at all, I raised 3 kids in some really fucked up circumstances. Um, and they're all great kids. But I was like, that is not enough because that's not about me. I
Yeah.
want to do something that's about me, for me, my accomplishment for me, something that I'm passionate about. And I didn't want to quit this. I wanted to be able to prove to myself and show my kids if you just keep going, then eventually you get where you're going to go. So I think it's just stubbornness that I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. I can completely relate to that in that I wanted to, I got into this because I enjoy comedy anyway, but then I saw the chance to do it and I thought I'll give this a go. But I kind of did it in secret from the start in that the only reason I told my wife was because I thought if she thinks I'm going off every Thursday for 3 hours, it's going to look really suspicious. I never told my kids until
Wow.
like the week before my showcase after doing the course. I never told any friends other than one friend knew, and that was it. And he kept every week, how's it going? How's it going? But I felt like I wanted to do. I've worked what I'd say is fairly hard and consistently to provide for the family and do the family stuff and be a dad and be a husband and all of that. And I think I've done a relatively decent job about that. But I've never been doing stuff. It sounds weird. I've done stuff myself, but I've never done creative stuff. I'm an IT guy behind a
Yeah.
desk, programming a computer, very dull, very stereotypical. But then when you get the chance to think about, okay, and you make somebody laugh for the first time on the stage, you're like, this is such a good feeling. And when it goes wrong, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then you go, I remember that time it went really well. Maybe I'll get that again. And then
Yeah.
comedy becomes the drug.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I have a slightly warped I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but every time I have a really great gig, I'm really happy and at the same time I'm like, "Oh, that could have been just a fluke." The next venue might not work. They might not like me. Maybe I'm not as funny as I thought I was. Maybe it's just like by chance people laughed on the day. So,
Um, I think sometimes there can be a little bit of that in us because every gig is different. Every
yeah.
audience is different. Every person that is on before you is different. And that all leads to how you perform. Because if somebody's absolutely just killed the room as in dead before you, that's a lot for you to then take on to try and bring that room back up again.
Yeah.
But then as well, if somebody's absolutely smashed the hell out of the room, the expectation on you by that audience is probably on that same level. And you're like, I'm not sure I can do this.
Exactly.
And especially if you have a very different energy to the person that was on before you, I think it really does play with your mind. But I see comedy as a drug. It's very hard to put it down, no matter if it's going well or if it's going badly, because the moment you get that good hit, you want that good hit again and again and again and again and again. And I sometimes feel like I end up chasing this as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I think for me, I don't really see it as a drug or something that I have to have.
Mm.
I think I see, I'm 53 and I think I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Um, so I'm like, I don't know what else I want to do other than creativity stuff. I mean, I do want to write more. I am writing another book right now. I do want to do, I went on the one TV show and I've done some filming for some other projects. I want to do all this stuff. I still want to go on Loose Women. That's like my thing. I've decided I'm going on Loose Women. So if there's any Loose Women listening, Judy Love. So I have all these things I want to do. And I honestly don't, I would love to, we're going to do Fringe. I'd love to go on tour. I'd love to have a massive following.
Yeah.
I'd love to do all these stuff. But honestly, anything that's creative that I can be part of where I get to be in front of the audience or in front of the camera, I just want to do that. So whether it's stand up ultimately or something else, acting, I don't care. I just
Yeah.
love the whole thing. Um, but anyway, yeah, that's where I'm at.
So with what's the topic of the books you've been writing then, or the book you've written?
The one that I wrote in lockdown that I finished was called What She Can't Remember. And it's the story of a woman who went through an experience as a child, but was brainwashed pretty much into believing that it was just a dream. It never happened. And so
Right.
the story unfolds and shows how all of that happened and that what happened was true and her revelation. It's not a comedy at all. There's another one that I um, have gotten into that I actually talked about on Jim Hooker's podcast. And it's called What Happened Last Tuesday, which I think is super fun. I want to keep doing that. And that's about in one family, there was a birth, a death, a divorce, and a birth, a death, an engagement,
Hmm.
and somebody having their affair discovered all in one day, in one family, adult children and parents and all that stuff. And it's called What Happened Last Tuesday. So fun. So I want to
Yeah.
keep doing that. The one that I'm writing right now is called The Trophy Wife.
Hmm.
And so a lot of my stand up is centered around the fact that I've been married 4 times
Hmm.
and what that looks like. And there's a there's this joke about me wanting to be a trophy wife, and um, I feel like I have that life right now. Not the traditional negative thing, younger woman, gold digger situation, but
Yeah.
my husband right now is the person that I just knew was out there for me, somebody who was going to really look at me and not physically, but look at me and think I was the most beautiful person in the world, the most amazing person in the world, and love me for me.
Hmm.
And I knew that was out there for me, but it just took me a really long time to get to him. It took me until I
Yeah.
was 48, I think. So my book is about all of the different relationships and marriages, about how I went from that first little prayer of please make me a trophy wife, which is a lie but funny, all the
Yeah.
way up to living this trophy wife life now. And I don't know if you're aware, I have a real series called Dear Trophy Wife.
Yeah, that's what I was going to come on to and how that links in with all of this.
Well, so in my book, between each chapter is a little Dear Trophy Wife question and a trophy wife's answer to that
Yeah.
question. So that book is that. So, and what I would really like to have in a year or 2 years is a show that I take to Fringe called The Trophy Wife, and have the book and the show and all of that kind of connected. So I
Yeah.
do love branding. Love that. So that it's all, I'm kind of laying everything out, is putting everything together.
Yeah. So that the dear trophy wife is kind of like a an agony aunt type thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Somebody sends in a question to you asking how a trophy wife would deal with this, and
Yes.
you give the trophy wife kind of answer on this is the way you should be going.
Yeah. And honestly, most of my advice at the core of it is good advice.
Yeah.
But I I say it all tongue in cheek with a grain of salt. I mean, when I say something like statistically, this
Yeah.
isn't going to be your last marriage, it's the truth,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so yeah, it's meant to be fun and funny, but it also is meant to be pretty good advice.
Yeah. Has an undertone to it that's actually true to what the answer should be. It's just surrounded with comedy and bits of fun and your branding, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So you touched on appearances on TV. So you were on Comedy Central's Out of Order.
yeah. Out of order.
How did that come about?
Super easy peasy, really. I just saw a post in Comedy Collective on Facebook, and it was looking for people to take part in this game show hosted by Rosie Jones. And as you know, a lot of stuff you see, casting and stuff, may or may not be legit, may or not be good, but I saw Rosie Jones and I thought, okay, if she's connected herself with this show, clearly it's going to be quality, legit. So I just sent in, applied, and then I got a phone call from a casting director, and then we did a Zoom, and it was a few months of a process
Okay.
of them vetting and all of that. But they were looking for people, personalities, and they just happened to find my personality and my crazy life stories interesting for their show. So
Yeah.
it wasn't hard. It was really easy that one. Not all casting is easy, but that was super easy.
Yeah, I've seen the clip of where they talk about who's been married the most.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably one of the most common clips. And when the shock of four times was it? You said the first two were the warm ups. I think it was.
Starter marriages.
That's it. And the
Starter
third was just a mistake, and it was just the way you delivered the word mistake, and everyone was like, oh, "Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I remember we did all the filming and stuff, but I have to tell you, their editing, fantastic.
yeah,
So they make everybody look good.
okay." So
So
how many episodes? Because was it you in every single episode?
I was in 8 of 10.
Okay,
I don't know if season 2 has come out yet. I've not heard a thing about season 2, but the way that they edited and swapped things around, I was actually only in episode 1 and 2 of season 1,
okay,
which originally I was in all 5 of season 1, but I think they moved episodes around. So as it turns out, I'm in all 5 episodes of season 2.
okay.
So,
I
and
see.
then my husband is actually in one of those episodes as well as an audience member of season 2. So look out for season 2 whenever they decide to air it. But yeah, so 8 out of 10.
Okay, so that's quite a. I mean, what was it like being on set with these people as well? Because I'm guessing you admire some of these people, especially like you mentioned, like you know that this is legit, and you're standing there in front of people that you've seen do stand up or you've seen on TV, and you have that. I don't know. Do you ever get starstruck or anything like that, or is it just like, hey, you're just a normal person?
I think for me, I'm old enough now that every single person in the world is just a person,
Yeah.
and they all have to put on their underwear. They all get insecure. Even some of the people who say that they have this massive confidence, they never care about what other people say. I don't believe that. I believe everybody has their moments where they can get their feelings hurt or whatever. I think everyone is human. So I admire I totally admire the different comedians that were, on the couches, on the sofas, the guests, Rosie, and all of that stuff. But I don't put them on this pedestal. I just look at them as inspiration that if you just keep
Yeah.
going, doors will open. If you just keep pushing on them, doors will open. I was on the panel. I was one of Rosie's regulars. So I wasn't one of the actual comedians on the sofa like the stars, obviously. But I did watch between filming, between takes, hair and makeup would come out to the couches and spruce everybody up and bring them their coffee with their straws. And they had stylists. And I was like, I want to be on the couch. That's where I want to be.
I want to be pampered.
Yeah. Yes. So in that respect, I was just like, I want more of that. I love being on set. And I've done, like I said, I've done some other filming not too long ago recently for another project. I love being in front of the camera. It's so fun.
Yeah. How was that the first time you were ever on set?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how was that just like you're trying to absorb all this information you're seeing and what's going on, and you pay attention to everything that's going. And I don't know. I always feel like sometimes if I meet somebody kind of on a little bit more famous and stuff, I just want to start quizzing them about things, and you know that it's going to bother them, and then you end up doing none of it, and you just sit in the background and kind of go, yeah, okay, just whatever.
Yeah. I think I did, talk to Judy and Catherine a little bit, but I think I was like conscious of the fact that there were so many people around and everybody wanted a piece of them and all that stuff. So I didn't push it. I didn't kind of get in their face all the time. And yeah, yeah, I'm not amazingly pushy about asking all of my questions. So yeah. And there were loads of other people that I spoke to as well. The what was his name? His name was Guy, and he was like for the first few days, he was the guy that was in charge of the whole stage, the stage manager or something, the microphone in his ear, the guy who's saying cut and film and stuff like that. Asked him loads of questions and the different casting people. There's so many people that go into making a TV show. I was just in awe of the whole process. So I really enjoyed talking to all of those people, not just what's called the talent, but all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
those people.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
usually I sometimes you kind of hear occasionally that those that are behind the cameras are the ones that actually end up being the more talented ones because they make those in front of the camera look so much
Yeah.
better.
And then and we would shoot for hours. Like for 1 hour long show, we would shoot for like 3 hours. And I was just thinking, the edit team is going to have to work so hard to cut all the stuff down and make it a 1 hour fun, fast paced. And they did. They were so good. So yeah, there's a lot of hard work and skill that goes into making a show. So yeah.
Okay. So if we kind of roll back to the actual stand up then. So this is kind of going back into the depths of what's your favorite joke? It doesn't have to be your best joke, your favorite joke you like telling. How it came about and has it changed over time?
God.
This is a real deep dive into your set and what you like doing out of it.
Yeah, there's a few. I think probably the one joke that I know no matter what context I'm in, is always going to get a laugh, and so I feel safe with it.
Hmm.
Is about being married for 18 years, and then I say, of course, that split between four husbands. It always, because I make a big deal about that, about how I've been married for 18 years. And it just never, ever, ever has let me down. Every audience loves that. I mean, some people, some audiences don't connect or find funny, a lot of the stuff that's about being married lots of times, and especially, not, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are audiences that in a very conservative areas that I've been to outside of London, where somebody like me getting up all glam and basically bragging about the fact that I've been married this many times, and that makes me a relationship expert. Not everybody buys into that. I'd say London is a lot more relaxed and happy to just like buy into all of that stuff. But I think probably that one is a good one. Also, the one about oh my, it's not always performed super well in the conservative areas, but the one about dick pics and my responses to dick pics, that's always a shocker. No one's ever expecting the responses that I come up with. They're
Yeah.
never expecting it. So I think it's hilarious that they get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I urge anyone, if you don't know what we're talking about, please go onto Kimberly's Instagram. There's a nice little clip on there about some of the responses and how the whole. You have to watch the whole thing, but I think the premise of it is really quite good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It is it's fun how some of these jokes have like tightened up as well. I mean, there's a lot of jokes. I'm sure you're going to ask about Fringe, but it's interesting to me and so exciting to me that I've been telling some of the same jokes for now working on 2 years, but they've changed and gotten better. And how when I first told them, they weren't doing very well, or some of them that were doing well even back then. It's interesting, the kind of the life journey of a joke.
That's exactly what this question is about. No, it's very rare. I think that you'll come up with a joke. Any comedian will come up with a joke and then never touch it.
Yeah.
It's even if it's just moving a couple of words around, putting a bit more expression on a certain word, having an extra pause somewhere, anything like that. I think from when you've created something to when you've run through it in your head to then when you've delivered it to then if you're the sort of person that can go back and look at it and go, that could have been better because of if I'd done this. And it's that creative process, I think, in our brains that you touched on it before, is you just want to keep getting better and better and better.
Mm.
And until you start actually analyzing your jokes and actually understanding why some jokes work and some jokes don't work. Because I think I can't remember which person it was, but who I spoke to on this before. Somebody said there's no such thing as a bad joke, just an underdeveloped joke. You're like, yeah. You can make
I'm not
any.
sure I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I think you can touch on a dodgy subject, but you can if it's come out wrong, it's not developed in the right way. I think that's
Mm.
what you're getting. So you can, in the same way, you can joke on pretty much any topic in
Oh
a
yeah.
particular way. So that's what I think they mean by underdeveloped. You can have a bad joke, but change it and it becomes a good joke.
Well, right. Okay. Okay.
I think the creative process is the key part to a lot of people in this. But it's interesting how do you when you put out your go for the creative process, how much do you think about the writing and how much do you think about the performance? Kimberly's thinking. Silence.
Okay. Say the question again.
So, how when you're thinking about doing a set, how much of it do you think about of the writing, but how much of it do you think about the performance? So, the words versus the visuals, in effect.
Okay. So I would say that my tendency was definitely the words. Um, that's where I would, that's definitely where I would put my thought process into it. And then it's only more recently where in the probably, I don't know, maybe the last, I don't know, 9 months, maybe, for example, that I've really been thinking more about the delivery, and what I emphasize, and facial expressions, and all sorts of the performance of it. And that, I feel like that for me only comes with watching other comedy. Because sometimes if you close your eyes and listen to a comedian who is, famous or very well established, if I close my eyes and listen to them, I'm like, actually, the words are not super funny. But the way that they're saying the words makes it funny. So I would say that the easiest thing for me, because I'm a natural writer, I'm a writer, so I could quite easily write stuff. But then delivering it so that it's super funny, that's the biggest challenge for
Yeah.
me. So
No,
yeah.
I noticed that when you do your stand up as well, there is an image you try to push out there as well in the way that you dress and all of this. Like I think the Comedy Store clip with the veil, it forms part of the act. It's the first impression that somebody has when they see you walk on stage, and it's immediately something is different and something is interesting. If you see what I mean, rather than somebody going up in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and goes, "Hi, my name's so and so. I'm going to tell some jokes." That's like, "Oh yeah, we've seen 100 of you before." But if
Mm.
you have that different nature of the first impression you give somebody, even if it's without saying a word, it it gets the room interested in you straight away.
Oh, well, thank you. Honestly, I love all things pink and glitter and glam
Mm.
and fun. I've got far too many, shoes and boots and just all the stuff. I love it. I love um it's my opportunity to go up and be myself on steroids, is what I say. I'm really and truly not a character when I'm on stage. I'm not acting as like I'm trying to be somebody else. What you see on stage is legit me, but hyped up, like on a lot of caffeine and a lot of prosecco. Is my image. And some comedians who do just get up there and their persona is not jeans and t-shirt. What their comedy is, it's not, their material isn't jeans and t-shirt, but they're very just, or jean, yeah, but they're very laid back. And I'm like, why? If you're going to be in front of a lot of people, don't you want to look fun? Don't you want to look exciting? I don't know. It's just me. Nothing against people who that's what they want to portray, is very casual and laid back, but I just don't. I just really love the whole thing of it is fun to me. Is creativity. The way I look, the way I sound, even my southern accent, it just gets a bit stronger on stage, and I can't help it. I just fall into a bigger version of myself when I'm on stage.
Yeah, I think it's when you go on stage, you have to be the impression you give in what you wear kind of determines that thought and what people see. So long as you are kind of true to yourself, like you say with you, you're hyped up and ready to go. That's your personality in that instance. And then you have somebody if somebody comes on and tells jokes about being poor but they wear a suit, it doesn't feel authentic.
Mm,
Do you know what? So
mm,
you need to. I think people need to find that right balance and understand actually what they see on stage. I think I was given an example the other day was that if you're familiar with Lee Evans, for example, Lee Evans is just the madcap kind of run around the stage, being a nutter, whatever. But he acts as the goon on stage.
mm,
But he has an oversized suit. He sweats profusely. But it's the oversized suit until you realize why he's wearing that to make him look like he doesn't fit in that environment
right,
and he's an idiot. And it works. But if you put him in jeans and a t-shirt, it doesn't work.
right.
And yeah, the onstage persona I think is an interesting one to go into. And I think with yourself, like you have the look and you have the difference, and people go, I want to listen to this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to listen.
Oh, well, you're sweet. Thank you.
No, it's true. It's people. Some people do it without even realizing they do it. You know, and I don't know. The open mic circuit is so interesting to see the effort that some people put into things, and even how some people approach a stage. All of those things are so important. They have to be true to the person, but they also have to be that bit that makes the audience engage. Like if anyone sees Deepak Patel come on stage, he runs on the stage, he charges the stage. He doesn't do the walk and grab a microphone. He just charges, and you just see this ball of energy, and you're like, "Wow, what's going to happen?" And it's fun, and it's expressing that creativity.
Yeah.
So, talking about coming onto the stage, if I'm going to say when you become super famous and you get a call from the BBC asking you to do a live at the Apollo set, and the producers come up to you and say, what walk-on music would you like to come onto the stage to? What would you pick?
The very first song that came into my brain is Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain.
Yeah.
So probably it's just it's a fun song. I mean, there's probably other ones that are even better, but that one is just, it's fun. Do you know that song?
Yeah, I know the song.
Yeah. So that one probably.
Yeah. And everybody, a lot of most people would know it as well. So it gets the mood of the audience in the right place, I think. And
yeah,
they're rather than thinking what is this, there's that little bit familiarity with it to start with.
Yeah.
Difficult word to say that.
Yeah.
So with your Brighton Fringe experience from the last week, how did that go? How's that whole process gone?
I actually can't imagine having done that by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, doing it with Kim Hope, I just felt safe from the start. I wasn't really nervous going into it.
Actually, before we move forward on this one, give us some background into what it was for those that don't know.
What the show was.
The whole show, the whole concept of the show and stuff.
Well, okay, so I actually met her about in April of last year, and I saw her at a gig. And when I saw her for the first time, I was like, "Holy shit, I love her." She's Australian. She's similar age to me. She's boisterous. So I went up to her after her set, and I said, "Oh my god, I love you so much. I feel like there's some kind of a collaboration going on here at some point." And she was like, I felt the same way about you. And so, anyway, we just started keeping in touch. And I thought maybe it would be something to do with social media. And that never really worked out because of schedules and stuff. And then, sometime September, October of last year, somebody just talked about being at Fringe and how I actually heard multiple people talk about how Fringe tightened their sets, made them more resilient, and all of the other things. It's like boot camp, and encouraged me. And I said, I just don't feel like I'm ready to do it. And they said, do a split bill. So I started thinking about who I wanted to do a split bill with. And then I remembered Kim, and I sent her a message and I said, before you say no, just think about it. And I gave her my pitch, and she came back immediately with like, yes, absolutely. And so when we met to talk about it, we were talking about our lives and our history. She actually spent like 3 or 4 days at my house as well in January, so we could just get to know each other better and get into each other's, history better. And we went out to eat one night in London, and she was telling me the story about something that happened to her as a child. And it's crazy. And I listened to it and I said, "What? Is that not normal?" And she was like, "Oh my God." And we were like, "That's it." And so because the different things that happened in her life that she draws on for her material and all of the crazy stuff in my life, you can't, you don't always realize how not normal your life is, because it is your life. It's normal to you. So we just came up with the idea that both of us have elements of that in our lives. And so that's why we decided to call the show Is That Not Normal? And then we just pick different areas that are related to that general theme. So it went really, really well. We had 8 shows. We were going to have 9, but nobody decided to come on day 9. Um, but the 8th show was actually our favorite. And on the Saturday, we were going to go out and have a celebratory dinner because it was going to be we were going to leave Sunday night. So we were going to do our show and leave. So Saturday night was going to be our celebratory dinner. Saturday's show had so many people there that we know and that we love. It was fun. So we went out for dinner that night and we were both like, I don't even really want to do Sunday's show. We can't top Saturday. Um, wouldn't it be funny if nobody came? Got to the venue, nobody came, and we were like, yes, we're gonna sleep in our own beds tonight. Yay. Um, but what I think one of the things that I enjoyed the most about that process was every day I did a set, and then I talk about it with Kim after. I'd be like, what did tell me, help me. What did I do? Blah, blah, blah. I'd make changes, and the very next day I did it again. And then the very next day I did it again. And my set tightened in 8 days. So much more than I could ever possibly imagined. It got so much better than it was. And I couldn't have done that without the feedback from her, and because I'm horrible at watching my sets back.
Yeah, I know
I
that
hate
feeling.
that. So talking to her and processing, and then being able to rewrite stuff and do it again the next day, and cutting out my darlings. Like I just cut shit that I previously would have been attached to. I'm like, nah, it's not getting a laugh. It's got to go. It made me much more ruthless and more interested in the laughs rather than protecting my truth, my what I created the first time. It took away my pride, you know? Takes away your ego. To go, what does the audience want? Forget about what I want. What does the audience want? And so it was, that to me was amazing. And it did help with my resilience as well, because we get all sorts of different audiences. Um, and so you just have to go with what you've got. So
Yeah, I think boot camp's an interesting way of it, because one thing I never thought about is that you get the chance to do a double take, do take 2 just in 24 hours time.
yes.
And you have the time, because you're doing a proper split bill, so I assume what it was 25, 30 minutes each. You have time rather than thinking I've got 5, 7 minutes to impress these people. And then it might be another 3 days before I get to refine it and do it again. Whereas at the Fringe, you're just going, or the Brighton Fringe, you're just going, right, and tomorrow it's going to be different. And the next day, and the next day, and there's something else. And you're constantly, constantly learning. And you're in this bubble, I guess, with no outside world. There's no work to think about. There's not necessarily friends to think about either. You are in that place. You are there for 8 days, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that's really interesting to me is prior to the Fringe, I think I felt like maybe my set was about 20 minutes. And Kim was like, anything between 20 and 25, that'll work. We can both do about that. Then we'll have some overlap time. So I was aiming to get at least 20 minutes, but I hate practicing 20 minutes by myself for my dogs. I mean, my dogs don't laugh. Um, so I wasn't 100% sure how long it was going to be. And then probably by day 2, it was at 25 minutes. And the time just got faster and faster. It didn't really seem like a long time. After a few days, it felt like I got up on stage, did my bit, and then it was over. So it it made me think, okay, an hour is not that long. Thinking before, how would I ever do an hour set? Now I'm like, okay, I can see how I could do an hour because it does just flow by once you're in the rhythm of it.
Yeah, and I guess if you can go off script every so often and stuff like that, you're adding your time in and you're bringing people into the moment. I guess when you look at doing 5 minutes every week and stuff like that, I don't feel like I can always relax because I'm always conscious of the time. Whereas I guess if you end up with an open mic spot of 10 or like a show of 20, you have time. And if you go, okay, I'm running close to time, I can just leave that section out. They don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me now, 10 minutes is not long. I struggle. If anybody asks me to do a 5-minute set, I don't have a type 5.
No.
I really suck at, you know, trying to figure out, well, what are my best jokes that could fit into a 5-minute set? That's hard for me. It's so much easier now that I've got the freedom
Yeah.
to go longer. So I'm going to have to going back out and doing shorter sets just to keep on stage. I need to now figure out, I need to rewrite a type 5 now.
Yeah.
So annoying. If only I had 300,000 followers and I could just go on tour, it'd be so much easier.
If only that was all of us, hey? If only.
Yeah.
So after Brighton, then you're now taking the show to Edinburgh.
Yes.
So what are the details?
Yeah, so it's exciting because, we did the 8 shows in Brighton. We are actually doing 25 shows back to back in Edinburgh. I know. I don't know if I'm gonna die or feel totally alive. It's probably gonna be a cross between both, but we're gonna be at a Laughing Horse. We're doing Laughing Horse, um, City Cafe 90s, August 1st through the 25th at 2:25 p.m. So hopefully, and also going back to Brighton, flyering is not a huge, massive thing in Brighton, but so I'm very excited about Edinburgh because flyering is obviously a huge thing there. So we're going to flyer for a couple of hours before our show each day. And one thing about walking around in Brighton in my pink mafia wife jacket and my platforms and just walking around like that, it is quite very people notice.
Yes.
And so I plan to do that again. And also Kim has got a few snazzy things to wear as well that she's going to be wearing in Edinburgh. So we're going to look the part and hopefully draw people in to watch the show. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what the metamorphosis, if that's the right word, of the show is from the 1st through the 25th, because I have a feeling it's going to go through a lot of changes by doing it every single day. So we're very excited about that. I already miss her. We shared a room in Brighton, and we're not sharing a room this time, but we'll be very close to each other. And just excited about going back to girls' camp with Kim. So it'll be fun.
So is it a part of the free fringe? So it's pay as you want, pay whatever you want on the way out.
It is, yes. We did look into another venue, but honest to God, if you don't have a massive following, already, why would you go into debt to go and perform your show? The best, most accessible way is to go through free fringe for a comedian who doesn't have hundreds of thousands of followers. So yes, we are very grateful to the Laughing Horse for giving us a spot, giving us a venue.
Okay, so it's the Laughing Horse. What's the last details again?
It's City Cafe 90s.
Yeah.
2:25 p.m. the 1st through the 25th of August.
Cool. I'll put those details in the
Thank
in the
you.
description and a link to the page on the Fringe website as well.
Oh, and also, we have, I don't know if I mentioned it already, we have on our Instagram, our little page called Is That Not Normal? So if anybody wants to follow that as well, we'll put the details as we get closer to Edinburgh. We'll put the details on that page as well.
You'll have to put up a video every single day. This is day 1. This is day 2.
Yeah, that was really fun for Brighton, and we will do it again. So there'll be 25 at least videos for Edinburgh as well.
Cool. So with being on the open mic circuit, you've touched on gigging outside of London. How do you find that differs from within London and with outside of London?
Well, I haven't really been doing open mic outside of London, and I haven't really been doing open mic much at all lately. So open mic, the traditional open mic where you've got like 10 or 12 comedians. I've never done that outside of London. So I wouldn't be able to answer that question. But audiences in general outside of London, I think the one where I've been to like, I don't know, Oxford. Oxford's a fun little town. That was a great audience. Banbury, Milton Keynes is pretty good. Trying to think, Colmworth, some of these teeny tiny little places that I've been to. Some of the audiences are up for it, and some are used to hearing, 40-year-old white men in doing comedy, British men.
Yep.
So I haven't always found it easy being American and a woman and my sassy material. I don't have generic funny for every single person material. I have a target audience I'm looking for. And so it hasn't always been easy. But it is what it is. It's about learning. And also I learned something from a guy, can't remember his name, at a gig I did in Tame. Is it Tim? Thame. Tame. Did a gig there. Very conservative audience. He had an entire notebook of jokes, and he was going on later in the show. He listened to everything. He kind of learned who was in the audience, and then he tailored his jokes for who he had there. Yep. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. That is the thing that I would love to be able to get to, where I have enough different types of material that I can just not rely on a particular set, but I can go, who's in the audience? What are they going to find funny? And then tell jokes about that.
Yeah.
So
cool. We're kind of winding down on this, but I like to set all comedians on this who come on here a little challenge. If you're up for a comedic challenge, this is a way of getting your creative juices going as such. I ask all comedians to pick a joke from this joke book called The Little Book of Shit Jokes by Sid Finch.
I don't have that book.
I'll send you the picture of the page.
Right.
The trick is that I want you to pick a joke from this book to tell live on stage, record it, and then post it on social media, tag us in it.
Okay.
It is the reason the book is called The Little Book of Shit Jokes is because the jokes are shit. So this is a way to see how somebody can turn potentially a really bad joke into something that's quite funny.
Oh, fun. Well, I have a gig on Friday, so I will do it for Friday.
So you get to pick your joke, but you only get to pick it by page number. So you don't know what you're going to get, and I don't know what you're going to get. And if you pick a joke that's already been picked, you have to pick again.
All right. You want the page number now?
I want a page number between 5 and 95.
53.
I could have predicted that one was going to come up. You've got 2 jokes on here. You can either have joke 1 or joke 2.
1.
on. Okay. How did the mathematician clear his ears of wax? He worked it out with a pencil. I told you.
Wow. That is so funny. I love that. That is so not on brand for me. That will be fun. I'm not even going to tell my audience
Yeah.
the thing. I'm just going to get out there and see what they think about that shitty little joke. That's great.
Yeah, this is the this is the thing I like about this, is that some people will go on and they'll say, okay, I've got to tell a joke, bear with me, kind of do this and all that, and then some people will do it as part of they'll incorporate it into their set, or they may change the wording slightly, but the premise still stays the same. And we've had a couple where one guy did this joke near the start of his set, carried on his set, and then did a callback to that joke.
Nice.
Yeah. And he told nobody what was going on or anything. So to them, it was just part of a routine. But to everybody that had listened to the podcast and had seen the video, was like, that's well done. That's extremely well done.
Right. Are all the jokes in that book those little one and two liner?
Yeah. Yeah. None of them are stories.
Okay.
It's all, there's a couple of little longer jokes, but they are all along there. They're not great jokes, but they work sometimes. And sometimes it comes down to how people deliver them.
Fantastic. Cool.
So I guess the last thing really to ask is, how do people find you? And I'll put all the tags and everything and into the description of the podcast so people can just click on them and find your pages.
Yeah. Kimberly Policella on Instagram and Facebook, and it's spelled police, LLA, Kimberly Policella, and the American spelling of Kimberly. I assume you're going to type that out. On TikTok, I've changed my name to the Trophy Wife.
Okay.
However, I'm not putting much on TikTok at the moment because the project that I just worked on is a different social media account for a band.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to stay off TikTok so that when people, so I can't get possibly connected to the other account.
Right.
But anyway, so there's not much. And on YouTube, Kimberly Policella. So just wherever, Google me. I'm everywhere, all over Google, my name. Google. And if there's any management or agents out there, you can look and you can approach me too, because that would be super fun.
Thank you. You can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We're on the W's at openmiccomedypod.com. Whichever platform you're listening to this on, please give it a little review. Give us a follow. I think currently only about 20% of the people that actually listen to this are actually following us. So get us up the charts would be great. Any comedians that wish to come on, drop me a DM on Instagram and we'll look at getting you on as soon as we can. So until next time, thank you very much, Kimberly.
Thank you.
And I shall speak to you all very soon.